Good morning and welcome to the continuation of your current affairs program, TMI, coming to you live from our Lagos Network studios on the ITV network. My name is Joshua Okata. It's Tuesday, 25 March 2025. And again, our focus today on the show would be on the Rivers crisis, with a special bias to the move by the House of Reps member, the person of Awaji Abianti, a member representing Adoni Federal Constituency in Rivers State, who has called on the president to look into the issue between the suspended governor by making sure that the engagement between the National Peace Committee headed by the former head of state and the person of Abdulsalami Abubakar can be done so as to be able to restore peace and, of course, thereby restoring the ousted governor and, of course, his cabinet members to the government house before the expiration of the suspended period of 6 months. Well, I won't be doing this discussion alone, as I'm being joined by my co-anchor and the president of Charity. Charity, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Joshua, and it's nice to be in Lagos.
Good. And of course, I have my guest right here sitting at my right in the person of Otumba Kenny. He is a social affairs analyst. Good morning, Otumba, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure to be with the independent television and radio. It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So let's set the ball rolling. My question to you, Otumba. It's no news already that the governor has been suspended. But of course, how does the news about the move by the House of Representatives in the person of Awaji Abianti, how did it meet you in terms of her initiation towards calling on the president to set up a committee that would look into this? How did that news meet you?
Thank you very much. I didn't feel there was no much of surprise, because the issue of suspension of the current governor and the deputy and also House of Assembly came as a rude shock to the entire national landscape, in the sense that such issues had occurred in the past. We might even it only affected the governor in some cases, and in some other cases it didn't affect any of the elected official. So now coming into that, and with the kind of contribution of eminent Nigerian, we know that it's not all the people in the house that will be rubber stamp. You know what we've experienced, the people in the House of Rep and House of Senate, is like they appear to be rubber stamp. Whatever the executive profess to them, whatever is forwarded to them, I mean, what we hear is, on your mandate we shall stand. Nobody tends to critique what is happening in terms of meeting up the demand of the Constitution, and also the demand of meeting the expectation of Nigerian, be it well-meaning Nigerian or any other normal Nigerian. Because that issue has resulted into, in the street of Port Harcourt now, they regarded it as struggle for the resources, the resource base of Port Harcourt, which is quite different from what the president tried to portray.
So are you saying that if the president was given a second chance, because we knew that he actually never consulted the parliament before taking that decision, but if he had a second chance, are you saying that the House would not look at it, scrutinize it before coming up with a verdict on that issue?
Thank you very much. What I can say precisely is that the president of this nation do not have the power to exercise has not exhibited constitutional power. He has only used what I call discretionary power, because he himself cannot give a go-ahead to actually carry out some statutory function until it is mandated by the legislature, which is the upper and the lower house, because he was elected constitutionally as the president of Nigeria. The decision he is to take, when it has to fall he has to be in tandem with the constitutional provision. He has not done that, and such decision ought to be ratified by the upper house and the lower house. So the presidency coming in to appoint sole administrator and giving the mandate of sole administrator falls on his own discretionary power, which is not constitutional, and his own prerogative. because as a president he has the prerogative to take certain decisions. But in a case when it involves a democratic institution, a democratic structure, it has to conform with the democratic canon. And the caricature that we've seen in the lower house and upper house has actually further exposed the fact that, I mean, those people have not done their work, and we're seeing eminent citizens among them coming out to say there's no compliance with the constitutional provision. So I want to submit that yes, president has the mandate, he has the power to do something based on bureaucracy. He has the power to use his own discretionary decision, in as much as the two mandates is to do is to save the people, to provide security, and to ensure well-being of Nigeria. However, the governor of the state too has the same responsibility to provide security and social well-being, and also taking into account that the devolution of power, we are under democracy, we are not on kakocracy or militocracy. So in this case, that we are still following the tenet of our constitutional requirement and democracy, it appears the president only took discretionary power, and they are only trying to do a rat race to justify it by saying many the Attorney General coming out, a lot of people coming out. It's just to substantiate and justify, and the justification will not have a root until it follow constitutional process, until it follow constitutional provision, which we have seen clearly there are some ultra-vires to the constitutional provision.
Okay, now talking about constitutionality, according to that section 305, subsection 5 actually states that the governor will have to write to the president to request for a proclamation of a state of emergency. And in the president's address that day, when he proclaimed the state of emergency on Rivers, he said the governor failed to request. And the Constitution says in the event where the governor fails to request and something is happening, that the president has the power to do so. What do you have to say about that?
Very, very beautiful question from a beautiful lady like you to compliment. Let's be frank. The president only exercised discretionary power. And also, the description as it relates to the governor was born out of passion and emotion.
The governor did not request.
Hold on. The description, the descriptive tendency that the president used to describe the governor in his address of proclamation, the reasons adduced by the president in describing the situation before taking over, they are quite very discretionary. It doesn't follow democratic tenet. For instance, he described the governor as a despot, because he believed that he should have averted the bombing of the pipeline. 2, he should not have been involved in destroying the already collapsed RHA building, that is River State House Assembly, that they claim that he has a structural integrity. And also because he failed, the president claimed, let's be using the right word, that he failed. But we're saying now that under that there's what we call a mid-time to respond, because as of that time now the explosion of the governor might not even be aware. So it is when it is confirmed from reasonable doubt that the governor is aware, and the whole thing we're saying is under between 24 hours. So if somebody has not reported, I will show that he's not even listening to his security detail. And we now want to query the legitimacy of the intelligence report of the president, because all the reason adduced in his own proclamation, we have something contrary to it. Because before that time there were also a tilting method on the part of the governor. Governor has undertaken some steps that actually run contrary to the claim that he did not do, and that itself we must state it clearly to see governor has exhibited certain responsibility in contrast to what he was saying he has not done. He actually fulfilled certain things. So that's why I come to conclusion by virtue of the information, by virtue of the understanding that president only exercised discretionary power based on emotion. Okay. And as the president of this nation, he has to follow constitutional provision.
All right. Now, there are also some claims that there is a lacuna, especially when it comes to the intelligence that the president should get. Looking at it from the suspension that was meted out on the governor, that he was actually feeling some sort of disrespect owing to the fact that Governor Fubara never implemented some of the 8-point agenda in the proposed agreement that he had with him at the State House. One of which is the fact that he never rebuilt the demolished chamber in the Rivers State House of Assembly.
Thank you very much. Very, very brilliant question from a handsome guy like you. But let me just come to think of it. The basis of the suspension, as outlined by the president, what the governor has done, what the suspended governor has actually run contrary to the expectation. Take for instance, the president claimed that the destroyed house, the destroyed River State Assembly, has not been rebuilt, or there are no consequence reactive action to actually provide, and that itself is not correct. It's not correct in the sense that Fubara has signed a 20 billion contract and the work has commenced, and the sole administration also validated there is a construction work on site. That is one. Also, come to think of it, the pipeline explosion that was part of why he was suspended, the pipeline explosion has been repaired under 2 days. And also, we also witnessed Sukuk explosion in that same area. That suffices to say the reason adduced by virtue of what has happened was on premonition because of the careless talk of the governor, Fubara. Careless talk, and unaudited, uncensored talk that when jungle matured, when the governor is saying jungle mature.
So it wasn't actually true that the governor actually orchestrated the explosion. That's what you're trying to establish.
I am confirming that the governor did not orchestrate it, and also because of the information he gave again, because of the reason, because of the impeachment process that was already on course, and the John Nation was saying now that they are going to revolt, and also the fact that people in the creek, the only way they revolt is pipeline. So, and they are beginning the insinuation that he was the one that considered it, and I'm confirming based on available facts, based on my own intelligence report, that Fubara did not orchestrate that bombing.
Okay, looking at the statement from the suspended governor saying that when jungle mature, he made such statement like the boys are waiting when the time is right and all of that. And we know that these are not statements that shouldn't be coming from a public office holder. Don't you think that the president is actually justified? Maybe he is being proactive by this proclamation.
Thank you very much. Nobody wants to take chances. That's why I have not condemned the president's action. I said he used discretionary power within his comfort, and he used his prerogative. No reasonable president will sit on it, and the source of livelihood of his nation is being thwarted with, because the oil gives about over 90% of forex, and we're targeting 2.35 million barrels per day, and as of now we're still battling with 1.5 average. So the president, in terms of trying to save us from imminent comatose, might come out with that. But what I said on this table is that Fubara has not shown maturity because he lacks the experience. Fubara lacks parliamentary approach experience. He also lacks legislative approach. He also lacks leadership approach. And when it's like you pick somebody from somewhere to come and take a position without actually being cultured in approach, in communication, and in way. What he said was a loose talk, was based on anxiety, was based on pressure, because the young man has been under the pressure. And when and even Bible says, oppression maketh a wise man mad. Yes, the boy.
I heard that. Where's the crown?
No, yes, the oppression make a wise man. It's in the Bible, and the young man has gone through a lot of pressure. So sometimes when something was happening, we have to look at the ecosystem, look at the state of mind, and look at him the way he's talking now from when he was under pressure. We can really see now that the boy has been under deep pressure.
So are you saying we should excuse loose talks, like statement from public office, especially governors, simply because they are under pressure?
Hold on, I'm not saying you excuse. I'm only saying you look at the ecosystem, you look at the circumstances, you look at the state of mind of that person. If somebody is not under pressure and he's saying that we will not take it for life. For instance, Ameshida came on the air and say the politician in the office, what they do is to maim, to steal, and to kill. We take it against him because of his virtue of his maturity. We are now saying now that if Fubara utter any statement, there's a window of the fact that the young man has been under severe pressure for 2 years, has been going through stress, and in order for him to have hypertension or to have stroke. So sometimes when he reacts, we are not going to take him 100%, because if for instance he mentions such a thing under this condition, we will take him on, because he's not under pressure. Anything he says is validated. But now there is no proof, there is no constant proof to show now that he orchestrated it. Maybe all these recalcitrant boys that are overreaction.
Okay, so talking about pressure, you've overflogged the issue too much. And of course, now we had a guest some time ago who spoke about the fact that part of the games, opposition play, especially looking at it from the ruling party, is to create a distraction. And part of the distraction is to make sure that he loses his coordination. Could that give rise to the loose talk that my co-anchor talked about?
No.
Secondly, my next question would be, now, is it part of the grand plan or grand design, as it were, so that he could walk into those baits that might have been set for him, so as to give room for an impeachment? Because if you remember, a few days back, Wike made a statement that the governor can be impeached and heavens will not fall. So, with all of these set for him, could that have given way for the impeachment or the suspension to be carried out, given your statement that the president uses discretionary powers?
Thank you very much. We cannot rule out any possibility because of what happened in the proclamation. Fubara immaturity actually gave him away. He also led him into, you are operating in a lion's den. You are operating with the mouth of a lion. You should devise strategy to save yourself. Similar case happened in Akwa Ibom, Udom and Umaeno. But Umaeno displayed maturity. Everything that he was claiming Wike did, Udom did the same thing to Umaeno. But Umaeno was matured enough to manage his boss. So you must manage the boss. That's where he failed completely. And also, what really happened, there was a divide and rule he was using. Because of some unpatriotic leader who failed to appeal to Wike, because some of those people actually wanted his position. The people that were rejected, Wike rejected for him to pick him, were the leaders he was supporting. And they were feeding on him because they were actually pushing him, you understand, to error. So the people who are giving him advice actually pushing him error. You know the circumstances. You know you have to bend down low when you know now that the position was virtually given to you on a platter of gold. Everybody that is a position of authority in Nigeria, godfatherism rule at all costs.
All right, we have just 3 minutes to go. We have just 3 minutes to go, and I want you to quickly address this issue. The issue of voice votes as against indicating by perhaps signing or some sort of indication that you are for or against. Now, could that be the reason for the suspension to be carried out without having to allow people indicate if they are going for or against the motion?
And a follow-up question, so where does the principle of separation of power stand when we have situations like the voice vote he talks about?
Thank you. It is very clear that the House did not conform to the statutory order of the House.
So there was a grand plan.
So it was a grand plan. It was maneuvering. It was maneuvering, and also it is obvious that the intelligence report has some foul. The intelligence report based on what, because if we're able to create a report to all what is claimed, the reason why, and we're able to provide the contract, it means the intelligence is even questionable. And also the antecedent of the House, normally we regard them as a rubber stamp. They've just displayed their rubber stamp approach, because it is statutory on issue like this, you understand, to vote. Take for instance, in the House of Rep, 243 members attended. It is required that 240 to make the quorum, 240 came, and they did not went into voting. Everybody say nay, and that is not acceptable. As far as I'm concerned, any decision reached on that manner is null and void, because it's running against the constitutional provision.
Right, before we go, I need you to quickly address this issue or respond to the statement Awaji Abiante said. in her statement, she said, Mr. President should also understand that he also got some votes from Rivers. It was not just one vote. In politics, one man cannot be in the polling unit and be in the local government. So no man can deliver the vote in a state. If we now begin to say there is one Superman, and because that Superman can, and well, let me put it this way, on that Superman, we want to mortgage the people. If the people's resistance come, the Superman can only cast one vote, and that will be all. What do you have to say about that? Who is that Superman?
Okay. The answer is that
Allegedly.
No, it's not allegedly. No, it's not allegedly. It's not allegedly.
Abiente did not mention a name. He just said Superman.
Hold on,
I remember the Attorney General has come out to state emphatically that Wike has nothing to do with this.
Oh, no. Those are politics. The Attorney General is only politicking. I'm not politicking. I'm saying the two people that were fighting is Wike and himself. And also, many of these things has political undertone. In the sense that if you look at Nigeria, for instance, if you pick Kano, you pick Lagos, the next way that will give you presidency is Rivers. So it has a political undertone, and we can query we can establish a local standing for that political undertone, because in the proclamation nothing was mentioned about Wike and Wike and Fubara were the sources of the emperors.
So you are saying safely that Wike is the Superman?
Oh yes, confirming that openly.
And if I get it correctly, the text read by the president during the proclamation is, can we say, is biased?
We can't say
Wike was not mentioned.
I will say it's an element of bias, because Wike was not mentioned. Because the root cause of the problem, if we want to solve the problem, we should deal with the root cause. If Wike, nothing was referred to Wike at all, and we know the impasse is between Wike and Fubara, which means there's some element of bias in it, and also running contrary to constitutional provision, also establish some level of bias. Take for instance, the president only lay his assertion on 305.
We're pressed for time. I've just been told. Thank you so much, Mr. Kenny Otumba, for giving us your perspective on the show. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, that's our offering for you, especially from the Lagos Network studios.